Well, everyone, this is an interesting little discovery that Rap has uncovered. Look, we know that back in 2019 there was quite a bit of discussion on which direction the DCEU was going to go. After Zack Snyder had left, they were trying to decide what Walter Hamada was going to do with the brand. I mean, how was he going to lead the brand into the future? And there were quite a few conversations had, apparently, with keeping Henry Cavill on. The problem is there were a lot of rumors out there on how that would have looked. And one of the things that we heard quite often was that there was no deal that was ever had to extend Henry Cavill's contract. That Henry Cavill saw himself as bigger of a star than he was in 2013, and that he felt that he needed and deserved more money playing Superman than he did prior. Now, the only issue with that is the studio apparently, now this is all, alleged, information. This isn't, I don't have firsthand account of this. But allegedly, the studio looked at that and said, look, you haven't had a massively successful film under your belt. Yes, your name may be Henry Cavill, you may be Superman, but let's face it, Superman, or Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Justice League, at the time, 2019, none of them were massively successful. And even then, outside of the Superman character, he did not have any great success. Now, we all heard about Christopher McQuarrie coming out just the other day discussing what he pitched to Warner Brothers alongside Henry Cavill on an idea that he had for a Superman film. Now, people all act like, oh, this would have been great. This would have been fantastic to have. A lot of the Snyder Bros even were like, oh, we should have got that. Shame on Warner Brothers. Shame on Warner Brothers. But what people don't realize is that would not have continued Zack's arc. That would have gone away from what Snyder was doing. You would not have gotten the completion of the Snyderverse at that time. People still don't realize that any deviation in 2018, 2019, 2020, whatever it would have been, would have taken you away from getting what you want if you consider yourself a Snyder fan. But I digress. We're not going to go down that route here. What I want to discuss is what the Wrap uncovered here, which is in January 2018, Walter Hamada joined DC Films and led the division to the successful Aquaman. But he left DC Films in October 2022 after Zaslav took over, subsequently tapping Gunn and Safran to run the division. Now, what happened after that is very interesting because after Hamada left, there was a lot of discussion on should we bring Henry Cavill back, obviously. We heard what happened yet again. We heard this story. We heard that Dwayne Johnson brought in Henry Cavill for the Black Adam post-credit scene, or mid-credit scene, what have you. He then supposedly shot a scene or two for the upcoming, or the impending Flash movie at that time. Now, he did get paid for those, but he signed no long contract with Warner Brothers for playing the role. This goes back to the rumors, the speculation of what was going on back in 2018, 2019, 2020, that whole time period, where Henry Cavill and Warner Brothers were going back and forth on contracts. Henry Cavill thinking that his stock was so much higher than it actually was in the eyes of Warner Brothers. Now, this continues. It says, before Gunn and Safran's hiring, Warner Brothers Pictures chiefs Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdy briefly tried to get a standalone Henry Cavill-led Superman film going in 2022, with Michael Bay eyed to possibly direct. That's wild. That is absolutely wild. Crazy to think. Imagine a Michael Bay directed Superman. I can't even imagine that, guys. Now, people, I've seen them have mixed opinions on this. Mixed at best. But they unfortunately, or fortunately, I will say fortunately, they didn't go that way. Unfortunate depending on who you are, I guess. They did go with Gunn and Safran, of course, and we are now just weeks away from his Superman movie featuring David Corenswet, not Henry Cavill. But, as I said, there was so much behind the scenes going on that so many of us do not understand and do not know. We have rumors, we have speculation, we've heard things, we've listened to the scooper dupers in the world, we've listened to so many different people talk about things. We don't know the facts. We don't. None of us do. We can go off of the little bits of information that we've heard here and there. I am not surprised about what I've heard about Henry Cavill, because it's not the only time we've ever heard it where he holds himself so much higher than he actually is. He's a decent actor. I liked him as Superman. I liked him as Witcher. But let's face it, a lot of his other films, a lot of his other roles haven't been all that great. It is what it is. I mean, you move on. Sometimes that happens. He's not Robert Downey Jr. He's not Chris Evans. He's not in that caliber of superheroes. He's just not. You can either accept it or you move on and you don't. Whatever. I don't care. But it's a very, very peculiar and interesting little tidbit of information we got from the Wrap here. Whether it's true, whether it's not, it's bizarre. That's really it. That's all I can think of. Look, it's not surprising that Warner Brothers was mulling around ideas around this time. Like, if you think about it, they have these IPs. They have Batman. They have Superman. They have Wonder Woman. And they're going to start throwing around ideas like, we want a Superman movie. We want a Batman movie. We want this movie. We want that movie. What do you got? Hey, let's think like people like Henry Cavill. Can we make a Henry Cavill movie? Who can we get to direct it? What about Michael Bay? That could have been a conversation. It could have ended there. What about James Gunn? James Gunn still might be interested. Let's talk to James Gunn again. Oh, James Gunn, why don't you write something? Let's see if he can at least write it. He may not direct it, but let's see if he'll write it. You know, like, that's how it could have gone. It could have been all these different things just going around and folding around within the studio, having James Gunn write something, maybe having discussions about Michael Bay maybe coming in, talking about, oh, come on, what about the Michael B. Jordan Black Superman idea that they had years ago? Like, they talk about this kind of stuff. That doesn't mean it's ever going to get made. It doesn't mean it's going to get pushed into production. Just things get talked about all the time. That's how studios work. But I'd love to hear what you guys think. Would you have liked to have seen a Michael Bay Superman movie? Do you think it would have been better than a Zack Snyder Superman movie? Do you think it would have been better than a James Gunn Superman movie? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button, hit subscribe. With all that said, everyone, I'll catch you all later.